is Encore.
Cool.
The stories behind the songs.
Thank you.
Here's iHeartRadio's Miles Galloway.
I don't even try to control you. Look into my eyes. No, listen to my voice and I'll own you. I'm Miles Galloway, and this is the story of Maroon 5's Moves Like Jagger. Moves like McCartney, moves like Bono, moves like Sheeran, moves like Beyonce? Okay, so Moves Like Beyonce might be a good name for a song, but those other three prove you can't just name a song after any famous musician. You've got to have the right name. When Maroon 5 came up with their smash hit Moves Like Jagger, they knew Jagger was a name that would resonate with listeners. And in 2011, Maroon 5 definitely knew what their fans wanted to hear. Have you ever heard of the 90s alt-rock band Kara's Flowers? If you haven't, you're not alone. They were one of the more forgettable bands of their time. Think Weezer, but without the songs, and you're close. The band were formed in 1994 by Adam Levine, Jesse Carmichael, Ryan Dusick, and Mickey Madden, who all went to high school together in Los Angeles. Because they were teenage boys, they named the band after a girl all four of them had a crush on. And despite it being a pretty bad name for a band, it didn't stop them from getting signed to Reprise Records, alongside Green Day, Deftones, and Enya. Kara's Flowers caught the attention of Rob Cavallo, who you may remember from Season 1, Episode 8 of this podcast, as the guy who produced Green Day's American Idiot. Well, he saw a lot of potential in Kara's Flowers and produced their second album, the power-pop-tinged The Fourth World. Upon its release in August 1997, the album only sold 5,000 copies, but it did earn them a spot on one of television's greatest shows of all time.
Wow, the band sounds great.
Yes, that was the voice of Tori Spelling, and yes, Kara's Flowers did make an appearance on Beverly Hills 90210 in 1997, performing their one and only single, Soap Disco, to a room of bored college kids. And that was pretty much it for them. Reprise dropped them shortly after, and everyone in the band went off to college. Levine and Carmichael relocated to New York City and immediately became inspired by the city's penchant for hip-hop and R&B, which began to reshape their musical direction. In 2001, Kara's Flowers resumed band activity, changing up their sound by trying a number of different styles, including country and folk, before settling on becoming what they deemed a soul band, but with 5 white dudes. They cut a demo for MCA Records, but the label rejected it. However, they did find an interested label in Octone Records, whose co-founder, Ben Berkman, had worked at Warner Music and knew of the band from their time with Reprise. In a 2004 interview with Hit Quarters, Berkman said he loved what he heard in a song called Sunday Morning, but couldn't believe it was the same band because they had such a completely different sound. We flew out to Los Angeles to see them play for about 40 kids at the Viper Room, and I was just blown away, Berkman said. They were only a 4-piece. The singer played the guitar and seemed to be a very shy shoegazing type. I really believe that the band could be many people's favorite band if the right things fell into place. More and better songs, and a 5th member to play the guitar to free up the singer, so he could be the star I perceived him to be. Berkman said he heard a similarity to what Justin Timberlake was doing. More serious music influenced by Michael Jackson and Stevie Wonder, but with guitars. And like that, the band was ready to take off. All they needed now was another guitarist and a brand new name. The unnamed band found a new guitarist rather quickly in James Valentine. At the time, he was playing in a band called Square, but saw potential in this band formerly known as Kara's Flowers and jumped ship. The name, however, wasn't so easy. After coming up with the name Maroon, they learned there was already a band in Germany with that name, so they had to brainstorm. As heard in this video posted to the Maroon 5 YouTube channel.
Well, we should just, for the next 3 days, come up with, 5 names a day. I mean,
yeah, he says Maple Drive is something else that he wants to consider.
Maple Drive, I hate that kind of shit, man. How about Maroon something? Like Maroon Moon.
How about Maroon Mosetta?
Maroon Poon.
Eventually, the band decided on the name Maroon 5. Why 5 and not, say, Maroon Moon? Well, the answer remains to be a secret between the band members and Billy Joel. Wait, Billy Joel? In a 2023 interview with Howard Stern, Adam Levine revealed that only Billy Joel knows why they called it Maroon 5.
You want to tell me what Maroon 5 means?
Ask Billy Joel. Billy Joel knows.
Yeah, I heard that you told Billy. He's the only one who knows, right?
Yeah, he got us at dinner. He sat down at our table and I was like, holy shit, this is fucking Billy Joel. And this was day one of success. We didn't know what, we were at Nobu. We were at Nobu in New York.
Right.
And Billy Joel sits down and he was like, all right, so where'd you get the name? And I'm like, didn't hear what he said because I'm like, that's Billy Joel. We fucking, like, am I gonna not, like, what am I gonna do? Like an asshole, like not tell him? And I was like, all right, you can't tell anybody, but you're the only person we'll ever tell. And I broke the trust. But you guys were there.
Yeah.
Weren't you? So you guys signed off on it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
you tell Billy Joel, of course.
No one say no to Billy.
No.
Now with a record deal and a brand new name, Maroon 5 were a whole new band. Adam Levine told Much Music in 2004.
I mean, my opinion is the slate was wiped clean, and that we just completely started over again, rebuilt. And so Maroon 5 was kind of that. It wasn't. We were total. I mean, we've been a band since we were 15. So naturally, you're going to go through a lot of changes. Now we're the right. I'm actually 25 in about a week, so I'm an old man.
They quickly began establishing a reputation as one of the hottest new bands in the Hollywood music scene. The band hooked up with producer Matt Wallace to record their debut album. Levine had written a number of songs about his ex-girlfriend Jane, who he met at a gas station. In fact, every song on the album contained at least one line about her, which inspired the title, Songs About Jane. Actually, that's not entirely true. The album's first single, Harder to Breathe, had no trace of Jane. Levine told MTV, it was the 11th hour and the label wanted more songs. It was the last crack. I was just pissed. I wanted to make a record and the label was applying a lot of pressure, but I'm glad they did. So really, the album should have been called 11 Songs About Jane, except for one, don't you think? Anyway, Harder to Breathe was a slow mover on the charts, but eventually earned the band some airplay. Once it caught on, the band decided to re-release the album 1 year later, and at the beginning of 2004, they issued a second single, This Love, a song influenced by Stevie Wonder and written about Jane moving out after the breakup. As you may already know, This Love became a smash hit, followed by She Will Be Loved and Sunday Morning. I think I've still got all of them on my original iPod Classic. And just like that, Maroon 5 were now a household name. It just seems so easy, doesn't it? Levine would tell Much Music that he believes the band was able to break through because they were able to find a sound they believed to be their own.
I think it's a combination of a lot of luck, timing, and, because that's really, I mean, you know how it kind of works, is that people, you don't know why people latch onto something, because whether there's a scene or whether it's something that's like brand new that sounds kind of unlike anything else, there's kind of that intangible cosmic thing where the stars align and this is just working out and people are really feeling it. And I don't think it has to do with a particular movement, which is why we are so happy about that. We kind of are standing alone, and with the record that we made, we're capable to go in any direction we want. So we're glad that we don't belong to, the scenes that people have developed, like garage rock or neo soul or whatever, pop music, or we could really be anything we want at this point. Our next record could be completely different. I think people would go along for the ride.
One note of interest on Songs About Jane, Parks and Recreation actress Rashida Jones sang backing vocals on 3 of the album's songs. Considering she's the daughter of legendary producer Quincy Jones and married to Vampire Weekend's Ezra Koenig, this makes complete sense to me. The band found an early supporter in John Mayer, who brought them on tour as his opening act. In fact, Mayer went to school and played music with guitarist James Valentine in the 90s, and the two of them would later collaborate on Mayer's album Continuum. Maroon 5 were all of a sudden on top of the world. Although it took them a few years to establish themselves, the work had paid off. The band took home Grammy Awards for Best New Artist in 2005 and Best Pop Performance by a Duo or Group with Vocals for This Love in 2006. But success didn't come without its casualties, and while they began to find a bigger audience touring with artists like Sheryl Crow, Lenny Kravitz and Dave Matthews, life on the road began to take its toll on drummer Ryan Dusick, who would be replaced by Matt Flynn.
Yeah, well, TV didn't make us, radio didn't make us. A lot of those things came into play a lot later. What did make us, at least up until that point, was people in a room responding to what we did, and that's going to hopefully continue to be what keeps us going. As long as that's the case, the sky's the limit,
Maroon 5 took some time before they would release their second album. While writing, they drew inspiration from Prince and looked to give their sound a more retro feel to the songs. It took them a whole year to make it, recording most of it at The Mansion, a home recording studio owned by producer Rick Rubin, where Harry Houdini is said to have once lived.
Did you guys record this in Houdini's mansion?
Yes, James saw Ghost. Go.
It's true. One night I was there alone because I was living there because I was homeless at the time, so I had to live in the studio. And I saw somebody walking up the stairs, and I was so sure that I saw someone, I called out to them, and but there was nobody else in the house. I went up to check. Nobody there. I just saw a figure going up the stairs.
Adam Levine would go on to tell Female First, "We came out with some great songs, so they must have helped us. And we did have a pretty epic Halloween party there." I've actually heard Harry Houdini loved epic Halloween parties. Upon its release in May 2007, It Won't Be Soon Before Long was an instant hit. All thanks to lead single Makes Me Wonder, which became the band's first song to hit #1 on the Billboard Hot 100. It actually broke a record by jumping from number 64 to #1 based purely on its first week of iTunes sales. Also of note was the fourth single, If I Never See Your Face Again, which was re-recorded as a duet featuring Rihanna, who was a big fan of the band and had been waiting for them to call her. Levine called the album sexier and stronger, but Makes Me Wonder was the only song that would have any impact. Speaking with Much Music in 2007, Adam Levine explained that the band weren't going to make another record about Jane.
Yeah, well, the cool thing is the first record is about Jane. Yeah. It's extremely specific, and I wanted to get away from that because that was great, but it also had its detriments, and I think that this speaks to just a larger group of people. We weren't worried about people not caring. We were more curious than anything else. We wanted to see if people were going to stick around and hey, love our music again. You know, because you really don't really know, because it's hard. It's hard to stick around in this fickle world of pop music.
Maroon 5 weren't just sticking around, they were thriving. In 2008, they picked up their third Grammy Award with Makes Me Wonder, which was named Best Pop Performance by a Duo or Group with Vocals. The next year, they were nominated for 3 Grammys, including Best Pop Vocal Album, Best Pop Performance by a Duo or Group with Vocals, and Best Pop Collaboration with Vocals. Just as they were reaching a creative peak, Levine was feeding the press ideas that Maroon 5 might not stick around much longer. He told Rolling Stone that they might only have one more album in them. Said to Billboard, "Eventually I want to focus on being a completely different person because I don't know if I want to do this into my 40s and 50s and beyond, like the Rolling Stones." But I guess he's changed his mind, seeing as Adam Levine is now 45 years old and Maroon 5 are still going strong. Maroon 5 wanted a different experience when it came to making album number 3. Luckily, they received a phone call from Mutt Lange, the famous South African producer, who asked if he could make their next record with them. And Mutt has quite the resume. He got his start in the late 70s by producing both AC/DC's Highway to Hell and Back in Black. From there, he would produce classic records by Def Leppard, The Cars, Michael Bolton, and Canada's own Bryan Adams. And in case you're wondering, not only did he produce Bryan's epic ballad Everything I Do It For You, he also co-wrote it, which means he got that Robin Hood money. At the time, Mutt was still married to the one and only Shania Twain, whose career he helped shape, producing albums such as The Woman in Me, Come On Over, and Up. I'm telling you, the guy's minted. Unfortunately, he was also separated from Shania, and they were in the middle of divorce proceedings, so it may not have been the party atmosphere it once had been. But Maroon 5 had found their guy. Recording on Lake Geneva, surrounded by the Swiss Alps, provided a breathtaking atmosphere, however, and the band felt the unfamiliar surroundings helped them concentrate on what mattered the most, the music. I guess I can equate it to Lord of the Rings, Adam Levine told Entertainment Weekly. It was a long journey in a faraway land and required a lot of hard work and focus, 2 things I'm almost allergic to. For 2 months, some members shared an apartment while others stayed above the studio. When it came time to work, they were in the studio 14 hours a day, 7 days a week. But what made this experience so different from the others was one rule Mutt insisted they follow. Adam Levine and Matt Flynn shared it with Much Music in 2010.
He didn't let us wear shoes in the studio.
No shoes.
Yeah, that was weird.
It sucked every time, and we had to do it because it's like, and then like if you wore, I remember a couple of times I wore shoes in the studio, and I was like, you know what, I'm not gonna do this anymore. Right. And then like I remember like Sven took me aside and he's like, you really can't wear shoes in the studio, and I'm like, shit, I really can't. So it kind of sucks. But it kept us barefoot and open-minded and free love.
Yeah, but then every time I went to go play the drums, I was like, where are my shoes? I can't play the drums barefoot. I suppose I could. I'm pretty talented.
Levine would explain to Much Music that the new album wasn't as reliant on influences like the previous 2, largely because of where they were while recording it.
I don't know, I think that for this record, though, specifically, we were so isolated geographically and emotionally from everybody that I didn't listen to anything. We were constantly working on our music. So this is the first time that I think a really heavy outside influence didn't seep in. Because on the last record, I was like, Prince and Police obsessed.
Yeah.
And there were very specific things I was going for too. So that made its way onto the record. But on this one, it was really, we were just completely song oriented and thinking about what the best songs were. So that kind of was king.
Maroon 5 released their third album, Hands All Over, in September 2010. It would debut at number 2 on Billboard's album chart and received mixed reviews, but got some love from Rolling Stone, which called it the band's brightest sounding and poppiest yet. The upbeat, funky pop on singles like Misery and Give a Little More demonstrated a punchier sound. Although the album sold well enough and kept them on the road, something was missing. Up until this point, Maroon 5 had only ever written songs themselves. They'd never worked with anyone outside of their circle. But they felt it was time to open the door to other songwriters and see what could happen. He would tell NPR.
I was kind of interested in the idea of collaboration, and I was having, to be totally honest, some trouble producing hits, just me and the band, and I wanted to venture outward and see what it would be like to write songs with other people.
Luckily for Maroon 5, 2 up-and-coming producers were working on a song that would become not just the year's biggest hit, but the band's biggest hit ever. Shellback, a Swedish producer who worked under hitmaker Max Martin, had come up with a tune that caught the ear of a 22-year-old Benny Blanco. The two of them began working on it and looked for the right artist to give it to. Speaking to Sound on Sound, Blanco said, "We pitched the song to a few artists who all turned it down. But I'd been working with Adam Levine, who had recently wanted Gym Class Heroes' Stereo Hearts, and I thought this might work for him instead. So Shellback and I got into the studio and wrote the lyrics and recorded it, and the rest is history. We wanted to keep it very simple and not overproduce it. We wanted it to be a very soulful dance song with a vibe that was almost reminiscent of Jamiroquai. Levine came into the process and added some additional parts along with songwriter Amar Malik. In no time, the song was fully formed and ready for mass consumption.
The minute we sunk our teeth into it, we started writing lyrics and the verses and bridges and all that stuff started coming together, and it just was kind of magical. And that's another thing too. Sometimes great songwriting can be really effortless and silly and fun, and I think it was such a good vibe in the studio when we did it. We felt like it would be, for lack of a better cliched term, a pop culture moment.
So why choose Mick Jagger as the guy with the moves? Well, because nobody quite moves like Mick Jagger. Levine would explain to NPR that it was almost as if there's something about the way he moves that is uniquely his own and hard to imitate, but also accessible and silly and fun, and not taking itself too seriously. It's not dancing, it's not exactly dancing, it's not exactly flailing, it's just this really interesting movement, and it's doable, you know? In a recent appearance on The Tonight Show, he elaborated on the decision to sing about Jagger, telling Jimmy Fallon where the idea came from.
What's crazy about that song is that when we were bouncing ideas around for the song, I think initially it was like from the people who wrote it and the hook, it was he got the moves like Jagger, and it was kind of supposed to be for a female artist to sing. I was the only idiot crazy enough to say, like, what if I say I have the moves like Jagger? Yeah. And they were like, are you sure you want to do that? And I was like, yeah, why not?
Yeah, I got the moves like, yeah, why not? What's the worst that could happen? But it became, that was the thing that everyone started saying. I got the moves like Jagger.
It's a confidence thing. It's a swag thing. He's the man. Like, look at him. Like, he's do that, and it's cool somehow.
He's the best.
While Levine decided to sing the song himself, he did agree that a female voice could really add something extra to it. So they approached one of the best singers out there, one with a booming 4-octave vocal range, Christina Aguilera. Of course, the fact that Levine and Aguilera were starring together as judges on a new TV show called The Voice may have also played a role in their collaboration, but it was a vocal marriage made in heaven. Levine would tell NPR.
I think when we were doing the song, we thought to ourselves, well, this is there's a lot of bravado in this song. Our whole idea was, if we could share this vocal with a female, I guess it would kind of curb the cockiness a little bit in a way that was more welcoming, I think, to a large audience. And Christina is an incredible singer. There aren't many people out there that can sing like she can. And that was definitely like, well, let's have her really knock this out, and she did it in 2 seconds.
And just like that, Maroon 5 had a new song that sounded nothing like anything they had done before. Maroon 5 decided to capitalize on the popularity of Adam Levine's involvement with TV's newest hit show, The Voice, by debuting the song live and using it as a launching pad for moves like Jagger. It was then released as a standalone single they would tack onto a re-release of Hands All Over. The move paid off. Upon its release in June 2011, the song was inescapable with its unforgettable whistling hook played everywhere you went. Moves Like Jagger went to number 1 in virtually every country on the planet and was crowned 2011's Song of the Summer. It would become the band's biggest commercial success then and remains even to this day. And if we're being completely honest here, the song helped revive the career of Christina, who had been struggling to produce a hit for years. But for Maroon 5, it also marked a creative leap for the band. The song's throbbing, charged-up, disco-esque rhythm gave Maroon 5 the ability to reinvent their sound. They would tell Billboard,
It was one of those songs that was definitely a risk. It's a bold statement, so it's different for us because we've never released a song like that. But it's exciting to do something different, do something new. I'm just happy that everyone likes it.
Producer Benny Blanco, however, claims Maroon 5's label Octone, a subsidiary of Universal Music, didn't want to release the song at first. In an interview with Q Magazine, he said it instantly went to number 1 on iTunes. Before, the label were all anti and were like, the song we have at radio, let's go with this song. It just became this big thing. And it got even bigger when the music video dropped a month later. The widely seen clip, directed by Jonas Åkerlund, best known for his award-winning work with Madonna, featuring archive footage of Mick Jagger strutting and shaking his stuff, the video pays homage to the Rolling Stones legend with a range of dancers trying their hand at recreating his distinct dance moves. In a behind-the-scenes video, Levine says he found the shoot to be draining.
Just rapped. Had a long day, and felt newfound respect for Mick Jagger, because moving like him, or trying to move like him, is extremely time-consuming and exhausting. So, Mick, you are a stronger, more energetic man than I.
Not long after the video was released, rising rapper Mac Miller jumped on a remix of the song thanks to Benny Blanco's recommendation. The remix helped introduce Miller to a new audience, which he appreciated, telling XXL, "The record is dope. I would love to shoot a video. That means a lot to me that Maroon 5 would do that. They didn't have to." Where would Maroon 5 be today without Moves Like Jagger? Well, they'd be fine, actually. They've continued to produce hits at an impressive rate, following that song up with bangers like Payphone, One More Night, Sugar, and Girls Like You. All songs they played when the band headlined the Super Bowl halftime show in 2019. Naturally, they closed with Moves Like Jagger because to them, that song changed everything.
You know, the Jagger tune kind of propelled us into the stratosphere even more, well, combined with the show and a lot of things that are happening right now.
But it isn't lost on them how many people sing their songs without knowing who Mick Jagger is. They would tell the Associated Press.
You'd be surprised how many people didn't know who Mick Jagger was. You know, I think that people, just as many people, Payphones and Mick Jagger could be considered things that some kids don't know about. You know, like I think that actually if you did some sort of poll, you'd say, what's a payphone? Who's Mick Jagger? I think you'd be shocked by how similar the responses were.
As for Mick Jagger himself, what does he think of the song that introduced him to younger generations that had no idea of who he was? He apparently likes it. Not long after its release, he told The Sun, "It's very catchy, it's funny. Only thing is, it puts pressure on me when I go out dancing. I wish I had written it, but wouldn't that be weird? It's not really like a Maroon 5 song, so they're probably as surprised by the success of it as I am." I can't tell if he's throwing shade, but I'm guessing he actually likes the song because earlier this year, Mick was finally caught on camera dancing to it. It only took 13 years, but they finally got him. In March 2024, the Stones frontman posted a video to his social channels of him actually dancing to a cover band playing the song. In the caption, he wrote, "Moves like who? What a legend." A few weeks later, Adam Levine appeared on The Tonight Show where Jimmy Fallon asked him about finally seeing Jagger move to his song.
Can you believe this happened?
It's really surreal. Like, it's just one of those things you're like, oh my, like, how is this possible that this is happening? It's bizarre. This many years later, too, you're like, wow.
I didn't think he would ever even do it. I mean, he's the coolest guy. He's fun and awesome. But anyways, take a look. This is him doing it a little bit. I mean, how fun is that? I wonder if, like...
I've never wanted to, like, be the bar band covering it more in my life than that moment.
Could you imagine?
Yeah.
I mean, they must have known he was there and be like, we have to play.
So awesome. It was like the coolest. And then someone sent it to me. And like, you'd think that like a lot of people would have sent me that video.
I was thinking of sending it to you, but I figured everyone...
I think it was one of those like everybody thought that everyone had already sent it to me thing.
So no one sent it to you?
Like my mom and like one of my friends sent me the video. I was like, cool, thanks, cool, love you. But yeah, I was shocked that not more people sent it.
Speaking of shocked, I'll leave you with this. Anyone who thinks Moves Like Jagger is actually about dancing, well, the song's co-writer and producer Benny Blanco decided to pull back the curtain and reveal that it's actually about sex. Posting a video of himself listening to the song on TikTok in 2021, Blanco wrote, "I was today years old when I realized he's not singing about dance moves, even though I wrote this song in 2010. He jokingly added a description that reads, "I just ruined everyone on TikTok's childhood." And to think, I recently danced to this song with many of my relatives at a cousin's wedding. Man, this song really hits different now. I'm Miles Galloway, and that was the story of Maroon 5's Moves Like Jagger on Encore, with new episodes every Thursday.
Encore is an iHeartRadio Canada podcast. Subscribe to this podcast on iHeartRadio or wherever you get your podcasts. Download the iHeartRadio app for more great podcasts just like these.